Hi, friends. I wanted to share with you a practice relative to your nervous system and how we develop patterns of perfectionism and how perfectionism shows up in our mothering as a toxic trait, as a life diminishing trait, and as a function of early and ongoing trauma. So, in our typical expression of a healthy nervous system, we have the capacity to respond on a spectrum between prey, essentially, and predatory energy. There are moments when being passive is suitable, is appropriate. There are moments when being a bit more aggressive is suitable, is appropriate, even necessary. And many of us are conditioned culturally because of our gender, sex, role in a family to favor certain reactions or responses. And initially, in early life, it's all about survival. So it's not so much that we're taught you should behave this way in order to be good or loved. It's much more subliminal than that. It really is survival energy. These patterns express and are honed throughout life, particularly as we move into parenthood, because it is such a vulnerable time. There is so much survival energy that's part of new parenthood anyway. And by new parenthood, I mean parenthood. I think unless we're really doing this sort of nervous system reprogramming throughout our lives, then we're new parents. And perfectionism is one of those expressions of nervous system behavior or patterning that I think really showcases how many of us sit at that threshold of parenthood without actually advancing into the embodiment of parent, mother, father, because we've been so inhibited through this pattern. So perfectionism is, of course, the either or, black and white, fully binary thinking. There is only one way to be good, and that's perfect. And being good is about survival. If I'm not perfect, I won't survive. As children, again, rejection from our parents, any sort of emotional neglect. It doesn't have to be physical abuse, although it can be. It doesn't have to be physical neglect, although it can be. And emotional neglect, turning away from, shaming, punishment, all of those things occur to children as life-threatening. So perfectionism develops out of very early childhood trauma and again becomes part of that subconscious way of being. It changes our perception of the world and what we must do in order to participate in the world. Now, I believe in motherhood, this is one of the areas most ripe for that perfectionist pattern to show up because culturally, we thrive on these visual symbols of what it means to be good, what it means to be a good mother. And by and large, that's entirely extracted from a woman's intuition, the specifics of her culture, her community, her sense of self, the specific needs of her children. Our Western North American culture thrives on these really lifeless symbols of perfection. It's informed largely from religion. Here's this untouchable status that you will spend lifetimes trying to achieve. So just notice as you hear these thoughts, these ideas of mine, how your body responds. If there's any tension in your jaw, your mind is responding with lots of criticism. What is your experience right now? Try to describe it out loud for yourself. Keep it simple. Know that there's no right or wrong answer. Bring your attention to the fact of your body in your seat, or if you're standing in contact with the ground, whatever part of you is touching something solid. Bring yourself into contact with that fact. And in your mind's eye, imagine and maybe also sense your body receiving that support from the ground. Allow your body to release a little bit of effort in order to not only feel the ground more completely, but to experience the support of it more completely. It's how your breath changes. Of sounding work here. So we're going to make the sound VOO 3 times. Each time we'll do it a little bit differently. So this first time, just like sounding an om, you'll take a nice full deep inhale and exhale on the sound VOO all the way to the end of your breath. I invite you to put your hands on your belly and try to generate sound from your gut. Feel for the vibration of the sound in your gut. We'll do it together. Inhale. Notice the after effect. You might close your eyes. If you feel yourself spontaneously drawn to look around, follow that impulse. Let your eyes go where they want to go. It's how it feels in your breath, your body, your mind to have made that sound. Maybe you notice very little change. Maybe it's big change. But again, this time I invite you to do something that might feel a little silly. Just move your lips. So I'm not going to try not to move my jaw while making the sound. I'm going to do a fish mouth and it'll look like this. Trying to hold my jaw rigid, but I'm also not moving my jaw up and down. So let's do that together. Inhale. There's any buzzing, any temperature change, any emotion, simply notice what you're experiencing after having done that. Facial engagement, our face being the part of us that primarily expresses our experience. And if we have been taught or trained to receive preferential treatment by being a certain way, always being happy, always being smiling, always being stern or serious, whatever it is, it might be provocative to your system to start to engage more of your face, more of your musculature in the social engagement nervous system. We're going to do one more round. This time, I'm going to invite you to move more of your face. So as your mouth opens and your jaw moves, you also get to open your eyes wider. And I'm naturally pendulating a little bit towards you. You can do that too. Feeling that approach and withdraw, and approach and withdraw. Okay. So let yourself sit back and notice. I notice sensation in my stomach, and I notice a little bit of tingling across my arms and my forehead. Almost like a nervous feeling, like I've said too much or these practices are a very simple way to start to build capacity in your nervous system for holding more charge. By having capacity to hold more charge, we don't automatically default to a particular behavior. This is how we start to open up range in our responsiveness. This is how we start to build up our felt sense of safety in being more of who we are, not always fulfilling some external expectation in terms of our response and our behavior. So you can come back to this practice anytime you like. I'd love to hear from you. How did that feel for you? What have you learned? What would you like to learn next? Thanks, everybody.